Good morning, Woodland Hills. I love that version of Be Thou My. It is the coolest version. It's kind of that smooth jazz, borderline almost funky. It's the best part of the song are the drums. Of course, the drums are the best part of every song. So, are you sensing, I'm feeling the love this morning. I'm feeling the love in this place. It's incredible. I just feel it. I just feel that. And the Spirit of God is here. I hope that you can sense that. Where the Spirit of God is, there is freedom. And there's a remarkable freedom here. I just feel very free. It's really been just strengthening and encouraging just to be joining with God's people this whole weekend and worshiping Him. You guys, there is a movement going on around this globe, and it is exciting, and it's beautiful, and it's Jesus-looking. A lot of very, very cool things are happening. This is more towards the podcasters, though everyone's invited to be a part of it. But we're really seeing the need to begin to have some meetings where kingdom people can start to hook up, meet with one another, and get some training and stuff. On April 22nd and 23rd, I'll be over in the Philadelphia area. We're having a conference, a kind of informal conference on building kingdom communities. And then, parishioners, listen up, especially you guys in Europe. We've got thousands of parishioners in Europe, and we love you guys. We are going to have, it's beautiful, July 29th and 31st, through the 31st, in Budapest, Hungary. We're going to have a conference, and we'll have some training there, get a chance to meet other kingdom people, some training on how to build kingdom communities in various cultural contexts, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So, parishioners, if you can make that, come and join us, be part of that thing. So we have been in a short series on looking at obstacles that keep people from coming to Christ and being interested in the church. Last week we talked about judgmentalism. If you weren't here, I hope you get that message. It's an important one. This morning I want to talk about, for this final message in this series, about faith. The way that people think about faith and the way they therefore think about doubt is a major obstacle to people coming to faith. If you've been here for any length of time, you've probably heard me say this before. It's an observation that most people, Christians and non-Christians alike, in Western culture, assume that your faith is as strong as you are certain. Your faith is as strong as you are doubt-free. And so people talk like this all the time. They'll say things like oh, so-and-so, they've just got such faith, they never doubted that God would come through. So-and-so has such great faith, they just knew that they were going to get healing. So-and-so has such great faith, they never once questioned the Bible. And so if your faith is as strong as you are doubt-free. Your faith is as strong as you are certain. This certainty, I call this certainty-seeking faith. Because in this view, people try to make themselves feel certain about certain beliefs. They hear the truth that we are saved by faith. But because they think faith is a matter of psychological certainty, it gets translated into faith. You're saved by your psychological certainty. If you can be certain enough that this set of propositions are true, then you are saved. And that means then that God must put a premium on psychological certainty. In fact, it must be the supreme virtue. If he's leveraging heaven and hell on your ability to feel certain that various beliefs are true, well, then God really is into psychological certainty. That's the highest virtue. And that model of faith is an obstacle to people coming to faith. For several reasons. One is it just does not make any sense. Why is God so into psychological certainty? What is so virtuous about your ability to feel certain that the beliefs that you have are right? What is virtuous about that? In fact, when I used to hold this view, because it was the only view that I was given, it always struck me as very unfair. It's like the cards are in favor of some people, but the cards are stacked against other people, because the people who tend to be really good at feeling certain that all their beliefs are right are either fairly simple people or psychotic people. They're both really good at believing that everything they believe is true. Whereas people who are more intellectually curious, they have trouble being confident that what they believe is certain. It just doesn't come easy for them. And so it's like, what has God got against people who like to think? It just doesn't seem fair. So it doesn't make sense, for one thing. Why would God damn you because you're not certain of things? And secondly, it's just, If part of your life project is to feel certain that all your beliefs are right, you can easily turn into a butthead. You can, and no one likes to hang around with buttheads. It's like a guy I used to know when I was going to the University of Minnesota. I was a philosophy major, and this guy was a philosophy major, so we had some classes in common. And sometimes we'd go out and talk after these classes, and we'd philosophize. And one time it just came out that I was a Christian. I said, yeah, well, I'm a Christian. And this guy, his name was Martin, he was so disappointed. He goes, really? I thought you were smarter than that. I was like, no, I guess not. I believe in Jesus. He said that the thing that really bugged him about Christians is that they seem to be certain of all their beliefs. They're certain that they're right. And they're certain that God exists, certain that Jesus is the Son of God. They're certain that He rose from the dead, certain that the Bible is the Word of God, certain that their views on morality are all the correct ones. And he says, but look at, you're taking the philosophy classes. These are all debatable things. Intelligent people can debate these things, which is why they're not justified feeling certain about them. You can't be certain. You can say you're inclined to believe them, but you can't be certain about them. And it just bugged him that Christians seem to be so certain of all their beliefs. He said he used to, at times, debate Christians now and then, but he finally quit. Because he says it's pointless to try to have any kind of intelligent argument with a person who won't even consider the possibility that they're wrong. You're not really even having a conversation, They're talking to you, but they're not listening to you because they won't let anything in. When you're talking, all they're doing is storing up ammunition to come back at you, because the one thing that's important is they got to convince themselves and try to convince you that they're right. And see, at the time I was 21 years old, and I didn't respond quite the way I would like to now. I got kind of ticked off and defensive, and that just proved his point. If I were to talk to Martin today, I'd have a different response. I would say, you know what, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is impossible to have a dialogue with somebody who won't consider the possibility that they're wrong. It looks like you're having a dialogue, but really they're having a monologue. They're talking, but they're not listening, and it's pointless to try to, and the reason is because they have this pressure to try to remain certain of everything that they believe, because heaven and hell hangs on this. Now, this psychological certainty model of faith goes hand in hand with what I sometimes call a package model of faith. The package model of faith is that to be a Christian means you have to accept this package of beliefs. It's not just about believing that Jesus is Lord. No, you've got to believe whatever doctrines the group is telling you. And so you have to accept that every Bible story is true, and you got to accept their idea of the atonement and their view of the rapture or whatever. And it's a package deal. True Christians believe this set of true beliefs, and they vary from crowd to crowd, but that's the mindset. And this also is a major obstacle to people coming to faith. In Western culture, anyways, we live in a time that is sometimes called postmodernism. And it just refers to the fact that increasingly people in Western culture are growing skeptical of any truth claim. A lot of people aren't sure that we can know any truths in any kind of objective way. And so here we are in a culture where people are skeptical of all truth claims, and now you're asking someone to believe that you and your group have all the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. And it's a put off to a lot of folks. The thing is that this model of faith is not a biblical model of faith. The certainty-seeking faith is a psychological model. It's about what's going on in your head. To know how strong your faith is, you have to just ask, well, how certain do I feel? It's a psychological model. The Bible has not a psychological model, but rather a covenantal model. In fact, most of the important terms in the Bible are covenantal. To have faith, from a biblical perspective, is about your willingness to have faith in another covenant partner and your willingness to pledge to be faithful to this covenant partner. To have faith from a biblical perspective, it's about trust and trustworthiness. It's about willing to walk in a certain way in relationship to another. It's like saying I do when you get married. You are pledging to trust your spouse, and you're pledging to live trustworthy to your spouse in terms of the covenant. So it's about a way of life. And your level of psychological certainty is completely irrelevant, so long as you're confident enough to trust the other person and to pledge to walk trustworthy in relationship to another person. In fact, far from faith being about seeking certainty, The biblical model of faith is about a willingness to commit in the face of uncertainty. That's why it's called faith. It's a commitment. You don't know how this is going to turn out. You read the Hebrews 11, their list of heroes of faith. None of those guys got what they thought they were looking for. You don't know how this thing is going to turn out, but you commit to it. You commit to trusting and being trustworthy, and that's the nature of faith. So from a biblical perspective, the opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is uncommitment or inaction. Now, James gets at this in a really important passage in James chapter 2. Now, he's talking to people who claim to have faith, but they don't show it in their life. So he's using language very different from Paul. It looks like he's contradicting Paul, but he's not. When he says faith here, he's using the term as the folks he's talking to are using it. Faith that is just about belief. You can almost put in here so-called faith, where he says faith. And when he says works, he's not talking about trying to earn salvation. He just is meaning evidence in your life. So you'll see what I mean here in a second. He says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but do not have works? What kind of faith is that? Can faith, or so-called faith, what you're calling faith, can that save you? His answer is no. If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what good is that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. In other words, it's not a living faith. It's not real covenantal faith. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. James says, show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith. You believe that God is one. Yay, you do very well. The demons believe that, but they shudder. So here he's going after these folks who say they claim to have faith, but there's no evidence in their life. And he's saying, what kind of faith is that? That is a dead faith. That's not a genuine faith. That kind of faith is mere belief. Yeah, you believe things, but the demons believe those things. In fact, the demons probably believe more truth than any of us know. But it doesn't do them any good because they're not willing to act on it. They aren't willing to now trust in God and live trustworthy before God. So it's a useless belief in and of itself is completely useless. You may believe with absolute certainty, you may believe that God wants all of the hungry people to be fed and all of the naked people to be clothed. But it's worthless if you aren't willing to faithfully respond to the call of God to help feed the hungry and clothe the naked. You think about it like this. You could be psychologically certain that God wants the hungry to be fed and the naked to be clothed. But if you're not willing to faithfully obey the call of God to help feed the hungry and clothe the naked, you don't have faith. You have psychological certainty of belief, but you don't have faith. On the other hand, it could be a person really sometimes doubts whether God cares about the hungry and the naked.